I shouldn't have followed the laughing in the woods, because whatever made that sound definitely wasn't a child. It started normal, completely normal. Late evening drive on a road I've taken hundreds of times. Two-lane stretch cutting through woods outside town. No houses for a few miles. Just trees and occasional gravel pull-offs. I stopped at one of them for a minute. Engine off. Window cracked open. Cool air coming in. Nothing unusual. Just sitting there scrolling through my phone. The forest was quiet, but that's normal out there. Then I heard something. A short laugh. High-pitched. Like a kid somewhere deep in the trees. I waited a few seconds. Listened. Nothing followed it. No footsteps. No voices. No movement. Just silence again. So I shrugged it off, started the car, and pulled back onto the road. After that, it didn't happen the same way twice. A few minutes after getting back on the road, something shifted again. Not a sound exactly. More like movement in the trees, right when the headlights passed. Quick, low to the ground. By the time I looked properly, nothing was there. I kept driving. About another mile down, the road curved and my headlights swept across the woods again. That's when I heard the laugh a second time. Closer, still short, still high-pitched. My hands tightened on the steering wheel without me thinking about it. I slowed down a little, trying to listen over the engine. Everything outside went quiet. No wind moving leaves. No insects. Just tires on pavement and my own breathing getting louder in the car. I checked the mirrors. Empty road behind me. Then something moved again near the edge of the trees. Not stepping out, just shifting between trunks. Like something had been standing there already and adjusted when the light hit it. My heart started beating harder at that point. Not panic, just that heavy thump when the body thinks something's off. I drove a little faster. Another stretch of road. Another wall of trees. For a second, I felt it again. That same weird pressure. Like being watched from somewhere just outside the headlights. Then the forest went back to normal. Whined through the branches. Regular night sounds. And whatever had been moving out there was gone again. I tried to forget about it after that. Got home, did the usual stuff. Shower, food, scrolling on my phone for a while before bed. Nothing felt obviously wrong. Just that lingering feeling like my brain kept replaying the road for no reason. Sleep was the first thing that got weird. Not nightmares exactly, just a shallow sleep. The kind where every little sound pulls you halfway awake. I remember checking the clock a few times during the night and noticing it was always around the same time. 2:40, 2:43, somewhere in that range. At one point, I woke up convinced I'd heard something outside the house. Not loud, just a quick sound, like something brushing against the fence in the backyard. I stayed in bed for a minute listening. My heart was beating faster than it should have been for someone who had just been asleep. Nothing happened after that, though. Eventually, I told myself it was probably a raccoon or a stray cat and forced myself back to sleep. The next couple days felt normal on the surface. Work, driving, grocery store, same routine, but little things started slipping in. Headaches that came out of nowhere. Not strong, just this dull pressure behind my eyes that would sit there for hours. A faint ringing in my ears sometimes when everything around me got quiet. And this weird thing where time started feeling slightly off. I'd sit down for a few minutes, and suddenly 40 minutes are gone. Or the opposite, checking the clock and realizing only 5 minutes had passed when it felt like half an hour. I kept brushing it off. Stress, lack of sleep, too much screen time. Still, I started double-checking the backyard at night before going to bed. And once or twice, standing there in the quiet, I got the same strange feeling I had on that road. Like something out there had stopped moving the moment I noticed. After a few nights of bad sleep, I started looking things up, not seriously at first. Just random searches late at night while lying in bed. Stuff like kids laughing in woods at night or seeing small figures near road forest. Most of it was garbage. Old creepypasta stories, weird blog posts, nothing that felt real. But eventually I started finding forum threads. Old ones, half-dead websites where people had posted years ago and never came back. Different towns, different states, but the situations sounded way too familiar. People driving through wooded roads at night. People hearing children laughing where there shouldn't be any kids around. Someone stopping the car. Someone stepping out to look. Then something small moving near the trees. Large head, pale skin, child-sized body. Always just far enough away that the details stayed blurry. I kept scrolling through posts like that for hours. Every thread had the same slow build. First the sound, then movement, then sightings near roads or tree lines. And eventually someone in one of those threads mentioned the name people use for them. The Melon Heads. I only saw it written once in that whole thread, but after reading the rest of the comments, one thing became obvious. Stories like this never seem to end with someone saying everything turned out fine. Reading those threads changed the way I started thinking about the whole thing. At first, I kept telling myself it was just coincidence. Weird timing. Overactive imagination after driving through dark woods at night. But the more stories I read, the more certain details started lining up in ways I didn't like. A lot of people mentioned the same type of moment. Not the sighting itself, the moment before it. Stopping the car, standing still too long, listening. Basically the exact thing I did when I pulled over that night. It made me start replaying small habits in my head. Driving alone at night. Stopping in quiet places when I needed a break. Standing outside the house late, sometimes just to get air when everything inside felt loud. Stuff that suddenly felt less harmless after reading those posts. So I started adjusting things. I stopped taking that road completely. Didn't matter if it added 20 minutes to a drive. I just avoided it. At night, I stopped standing outside the house for long. If I checked the yard, I did it quickly and went back inside. I also stopped talking about it out loud. Even alone, something about saying details out loud suddenly felt like a bad idea. Instead, I just noticed things quietly, like reflections in windows when the lights were off inside, or the way the backyard trees sometimes felt darker than the rest of the neighborhood. None of this felt like panic anymore. That was the strange part. The fear wasn't constant. It slowly turned into awareness, like adjusting to a new background noise that never fully disappears. And after a while, I started realizing something that bothered me more than the original encounter. Adapting to it was starting to feel normal. The mistake happened late one night when I couldn't sleep. The house was quiet. No TV, no traffic outside, nothing. Just that low background silence you get after midnight. I got up to get some water and ended up standing in the kitchen for a minute. The light over the sink was on, everything else in the house dark. The window above the sink looked straight into the backyard. I wasn't really looking outside at first, just staring in that direction while waking up a bit. Then I noticed something, movement near the fence line. Small, low to the ground. I should have done what I'd been doing for weeks, ignore it and walk away. Instead, I stepped closer to the window, just one step, and I focused on it. The shape stopped moving the second I did. Everything outside went still, not dramatic, just quiet in a heavier way. And standing there, looking out into the dark yard, one thought settled in slowly. That moment of paying attention might have been exactly what something out there was waiting for. I'm not really sure how long this has been going on now. Time feels strange when I try to think about it. Some weeks feel completely normal. Work, errands, the same routine as always. Nothing unusual happens. Then there are nights where things feel slightly off again. Not in an obvious way, just small things. The backyard getting quiet faster than it should. The feeling that something moved near the fence right before I looked out the window. A quick sound in the trees that stops the moment I notice it. Most of the time, I don't react anymore. I just stay still for a second and then go back to whatever I was doing. That's the part that bothers me the most now. The fear isn't sharp like it was at the beginning. It's dull, familiar, like it's slowly blended into normal life. And sometimes when the house is quiet and I catch myself looking toward the backyard without thinking, it hits me that maybe the waiting part was never about scaring anyone. Maybe it was about getting used to the idea that something is always there,